and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, baby?
What's happening?
What's up, everybody?
How's your week?
How is your day?
And your life?
Going!
Yeah! See? That's how you do it. And make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all the ways that you can follow the show. You can follow us at Opposite Pod on everything, or just search Opposites Attract Podcast. And the best thing you can do is to share this with somebody, let them know it exists, share a clip with somebody, tell them to subscribe, to like, to comment, all that stuff.
All that good stuff. Hey, what you got over there?
Oh, yeah. I got some drinks.
I want to try it.
Dude, we've had these forever.
Forever?
Yeah.
Forever? Let's try. Let's check it out, yo.
This is some kind of Bahama Mama. Here, you get the first taste.
Bahama Mama.
I don't know what it is.
you,
And if you guys would like
Bahama
to buy us a drink, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod.
Yuppers.
Sonia will tell you more about that later. Is it really sweet?
Ooh,
You like it?
that's strong, babe.
It's going to get me drunk? Take advantage of me later?
You know, liking.
No? Like medicine?
I don't know.
Is it like medicine?
I haven't really cared to drink since I don't remember the last time I had a drink, actually. Do you?
Yeah, that's all right. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just haven't wanted it.
Yeah, that's kind of candy chemically.
Ugh, I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't know what that is, but.
So what's up, babe? How you doing?
How you doing? You're so cute.
Why?
So yesterday.
Why am I cute?
You're always cute. I have a client and I would like to get into some of the things that I work with all my clients.
Yeah.
You know, I am. The way we start is, you know, it's like what brings you here.
Yeah.
But
what brings you here, my child?
Creating that safe space for them to feel free to be open with me.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a lot of emotion that is shared. There's a lot of energy that
in one of your sessions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
And with one of my clients yesterday, we were going through her memory of her mom and how she was raised and what she went through and what was said. And, you know, just like the limited beliefs that were sitting within her that were preventing her from living freely.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm taking her through this process of forgiveness, not only for herself, but for her mom as well. And the question I get a lot is why? Like, why is forgiving so important? Why do you feel it's so important when it comes to forgiving? Have you ever thought about the importance? Or
I think that forgiving is the only way that it's kind of like we were talking about a couple weeks ago. You know how, like, even if you go to a priest and you were to tell them about your sins and you confess, and telling the priest your confession is supposed to be a symbol of God forgiving you for whatever you've done.
right.
But if you don't really believe it and you haven't actually forgiven yourself for it, then you're still going to live with the guilt of it, of whatever it is. So you have to forgive yourself. I mean, that's the only way.
Forgiving, yes. Forgiving, there's two parts. It's forgiving the other person to set yourself free.
Right.
From whatever that is that's holding you back.
Is it having empathy for the other person?
It is having empathy for the other person.
Does that help you forgive?
It's helping to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Right? So I took her through her story. I took her through her journey. And then I started asking questions about her mother. Well, what type of person was your mother? What were some things that she shared with you about her upbringing?
Yeah.
You know, and most of us don't really take the time to get to know our parents as humans. So we're unaware of what they've gone through. And if we understand,
like, we don't know their past that well. Right.
And once you understand their story, you could see the innocence of what they did. It doesn't excuse them, right, for what they did, but you can see the innocence. Like, they just didn't know any better. You know, like her father was not an affectionate man. I think she's a Gen X.
Yeah.
Is that before us? It's before us, like our age group.
I don't know. I don't know the age group that well. But yeah.
But she's like 50. She's like 57.
Okay.
And so, and Hispanic. So when you think about the way she was raised, the roles that men and women played back then, what was the role that the father played back then? Do you know?
It was like structure and.
Yeah, it's just they were the providers.
Yeah,
they would go to work.
Yeah.
Right? When they came home, that was it. Like the mom was taking care of the house. The mom was taking care of the kids.
Yeah.
Right? Cooking, cleaning. And back then, like, your parents weren't as affectionate. There was no connecting to the emotion. There was, if you're crying, it's like, stop crying. You don't have a reason to cry. Stop crying. It makes you look ugly. It's weak. You know, it's a sign of weakness.
Right. Yeah. You know, this is a good sign of, like, how we say, like, sometimes things come in cycles. Mm-hmm. But there's sometimes that we don't realize that it's not just that things come in cycles. Things also accumulate, or they pile up, or they change over time. Mm-hmm. This isn't something that comes in cycles, right? This is something of, like, realization over time. Because you had like the industrial era where people were going to work and coming home, and going to work and coming home, which is like what you're talking about. And then over time, people start to figure out, like, who's getting rich off of this going to work and coming home all the time. And then eventually people are like, start waking up to stuff. Like, maybe my life wasn't meant to be just working all the time. And you start seeing what's actually important. And then parents start waking up to stuff, you know, and they become more affectionate.
It's the next generation,
you know what I mean?
Normally that starts to.
But these are things that are changing over, you know, over generations.
Right.
Like you're saying.
So then I started, you know, asking her these questions and really getting her to see why he was the way he was.
Yeah.
And what was so beautiful about her awareness was that she realized through the questioning, like me asking her questions, realized that he was only doing what he knew how. That's how he was raised.
Yeah.
And she started to have empathy for him and see him as a child, and she just like broke down crying. Like, you were probably the same as I was and wanted the same, you know, wanted the hugs, wanted the affection as a little boy, but was not able to express it, or didn't know how to express it.
Yeah.
And it's not something that was done.
Yeah.
And seeing his innocence in it. And that's where the forgiveness comes from, because you can empathize with why he was the way
Yeah.
he was. And that's where forgiveness like comes into play, because you start to see him.
Yeah. And just like I was saying, like you're saying, there's different time periods, different generations that have an influence on how somebody is.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like you're saying, like where they come from. There was something with my dad that I always thought about. Like, you know how he's always had like a hustle going on.
Right.
Ever since I was a kid, he always had like a hustle. He was selling bootleg movies at work. He would sell T-shirts. He would throw parties to make money on the side. But it was always some type of hustle,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And there was something that I always thought as a kid, that it always seemed like they never grew past a certain point. It was just like T-shirts out of a bag or movies out of a bag,
Mm-hmm.
but never actually turning it into a real business. But then when I think about it, like, how did my dad grow up?
Mm.
Like, he grew up in Ecuador and came to the United States. Like
how was
dad,
living in Ecuador?
His
How
dad
was it?
I don't know exactly what my grandfather did, but I know he had a farm.
Mm-hmm.
He had a little farm, and he was a boxer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he was an entrepreneur or did anything like that. I'd never heard of any of him doing anything. So I don't know if my dad had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he just came to the United States and decided he was going to try stuff out, like try and make it and do something, anything.
Maybe there was a fear of
But you know what I mean?
being poor.
Yeah,
or-
but for somebody that is coming from another country,
Mm-hmm.
selling shirts and movies out of a bag to make extra money.
But he
That's
was
not-
constantly...
You know what I mean? That is something.
Right. Yes. And he was constantly working,
Yeah.
which meant, there was not a lot of time to be spent with you.
Right. Which has a similar effect. Yeah.
And so he's chasing the dollar, and there might be a fear behind that as well.
Yeah.
Because of where he came from.
But you're saying there's reasons for things, which is
Mhm.
how you can empathize.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I have found that works so well. Like with every one of my clients, getting them to truly forgive, because you'll hear people say, oh yeah, I forgive them, but I'll never forget. And the way that's said and the feeling that brings within the body when you say that, like, yeah, I forgive you, but I'll never forget. There's an energy about that when you say it. That's not true forgiveness.
Yeah.
And if you continue to see that person who hurt you and it's making you feel a certain way, you have not truly forgiven them.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is about setting self free, like allowing yourself to be released from this hurt or pain or whatever energy or emotion that's bringing to you. It's so that it can be released, so that you can be free to be.
Yeah, whatever that feeling is has some sort of control over you.
Yeah. But after our session, it was a really good, intense session. It was so good. It was so good. You had asked me how how it went. And I told you that I surprise myself sometimes.
Yeah.
And you said,
You've been doing this forever. You've been doing this for a long time.
and I never really thought about that. And when you said that, it got me thinking back to all the appointments I had for business that turned out to be ministry appointments or coaching appointments
much.
or,
Yeah.
But it is just being in that with them and witnessing the breakthroughs that they're having. Like just seeing them shed this heaviness that's been weighing them down.
Yeah.
And it feels so good to be a part of that.
That's awesome. And you got a retreat coming up.
Yes. Yes, I'm excited about that. We are creating that. So I have my co-host, Michelle Heller, who is amazing. And she does retreats over here, not retreats, but like yoga sessions, sunset and sunrise out Papago Park. And she does so well. And I had just seen her on Facebook and just felt like pulled to her. So whenever I feel a calling, I'm like, okay. So I reached out to her and I wanted to meet with her just to see if she would be the right fit.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. Like we just matched, and now we're creating this beautiful event for 10 women.
Yeah.
And she's done events in Costa Rica. I think she said Cancun. So I'm excited because this thing it's going to grow. And I know that. I feel that. You know, I don't know what that looks like. Like, I don't know what it's all involved in that, but it's like, I know it's going there.
It's exciting,
and I don't need to, you know, I could visualize it, but I don't need to know
exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah. It's just going to be.
No, it's exciting. That's cool.
You know, and Audrey's really excited because I do take our daughter with us, and I love her being around because it's going to help her. Right? It's going to help her whenever she gets into challenges. Like, she's just going to know how to deal with her emotions.
Yeah. And I think also not just that, but I think the kids will also be able to see like how you create something from an idea, you know, like you've already done that. Mm-hmm. But I think this is something that we have to point out to the kids.
I think so too.
Like how you are literally creating things, or how we have created things from ideas. Yes.
And most people don't even see that though. Even me as an adult.
Think that's not a conscious thought. You know what I mean? I think that's something that should be a conscious thought though.
Right. But it's not.
That helps maybe think about it more consciously of that type of thing.
Because that's something that I had to slow down and take a look at. And when I started taking a look at, I am the creator of my life.
I mean,
right? Because a lot of times in religion, they create that outside of you, right? Yeah. Like, God is the creator of everything that you've done. God's done, you know, and I believe in God 100%. I understand what they're trying to get to. There's a gap in between there, right? It's like God is and I am.
Yeah.
Right? And even if you want to look at it from a religious standpoint, God and I are one. And it says it over and over in the Bible. My Father and I are one. God and I are one. So if you are one and his blood runs through you and he is a creator, you are a creator, you are that.
You're made in his image, right?
Yes. And when you look at your life and you look at all the decisions and the actions that you took or did not take, it got you to exactly where you are today.
Yeah.
And that is taking responsibility and ownership. And that is another thing that I take my clients through. It's like, you know, being your word. Are you living in integrity? You know, and just taking responsibility for everything that you've created or not created.
Yeah.
But the first step is taking that initial responsibility, but you have to see it. Like, it's like you need someone on the outside to come in to show you, to teach you, to give you the tools.
Yeah.
So that you can start to live in that space. But a lot of us, we don't think about that. Like David Goggins, he talks about taking the cookies out of the cookie jar. Yeah. Right? Is that what he says?
Yeah.
It's like reflecting on the things that you've done. Those are the good things. He's more focusing on the good things.
You know, I think it's kind of like, maybe it's because it's like the same action that kind of leads to all of it. It's the action of like just doing or going, because David Goggins, whatever he's talking about, it's like whatever those goals are in that cookie jar, whatever you've achieved in your life, it all started by taking that first step. Whether it's the idea of starting a podcast or the idea of going back to school or the idea of starting a business.
It can be as simple as you have plans to go to the gym the following morning. Check this out. You have plans to go to the gym the following morning. That day, you really were not feeling like going, but you got yourself up and you went.
Yeah.
And while you're there, you're working out, you're doing your deal, and then you go into the sauna, and then a conversation starts to happen. And all of a sudden, you have two individuals that are interested in attending your retreat. If you made the decision that morning not to go to the gym because you just wanted to take a day off or whatever it may be, you took the day off. This is two different creations. The two people that you met in the sauna, you would have not met.
Yeah.
Right?
You're in a different mindset when you wake up early in the morning and go to the gym and then go to the sauna.
It's just two different options of creation.
Yeah.
You decided to go to the gym. You met two new people that possibly could be clients in the future that may attend the retreat, or you decided to stay home and give into not wanting to do anything. I'll just wake up late, whatever it may be. Two different creations. Either way, you decided and you took the action or the lack of action, whatever it is. And that's what you created that day.
Yeah. 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 Whatever it is, I feel like it just starts like with starting something, you know, and then once you get started, just keep doing it. Keep doing it over and over and over again, you know?
Yeah. But we are the creators.
Yep. That leads into something interesting that I had talked to you about a while back. I learned about it through an interview with this guy that might be Trump's vice president.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Vivek Ramaswamy. He's an Indian guy. And he is really good. He's a really, really bright, real sharp guy. And he was talking about something called the Jefferson Bible. Dude, and it was something that when he mentioned it and I started looking into it, it like blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know that there was something like this out there. And what the Jefferson Bible is from the President Thomas Jefferson. And apparently back then, he's one of the founding fathers. I don't know what president he was, but I guess a lot of people say that this country was founded as a Christian country. And that the forefathers of this country were Christian. But it seems like Thomas Jefferson may have had some questions. If you look at his history, it seems like he may have had some questions.
Because he may have thought a little differently.
Yeah. Kind of like I say, it's like, I got some questions, you know, but apparently he wanted to learn the teachings of Jesus. So he got Bibles in different languages and he took a Bible and like, I guess he would study them, but he took a Bible and cut out all the passages that were just strictly teachings of Jesus and composed a Bible of only that and left out anything that was
said by the disciples,
said by somebody else, or that had maybe like that could have been altered or that had some, I don't know, political leaning or whatever, right. Or if it was like supernatural, like turning water into wine, like even the Bible, I think ends when they place Jesus in the tomb. Like there is no resurrection. Like the book ends there. But it has everything that he teaches inside the Bible.
Because in the Bible, when God is speaking directly to the people, mine is written in a different color. so that you know it's Jesus talking directly to you.
I wonder if that matches
so
up with
that's probably
from
what he cut out
similar to that,
when
right?
Jesus is speaking directly to the people.
Because you got like a color-coded Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was but yeah, so I was watching an interview and he was talking about President Thomas Jefferson and the Jefferson Bible, and you can find it on Audible, and you can find the book on Amazon. You guys can buy it through our link. That would help us out. But I thought, dude, I was like, that would be a Bible that I would be interested in reading.
Yeah.
You know, because yeah, like you guys have heard it here. Like my views and my thoughts on Jesus have changed.
I don't think we've
so much
really gotten
over the
into
years.
that, actually. I mean,
maybe
you
not
talked
fully.
about it a little
Maybe not
bit,
fully,
but
yeah.
you have definitely the way you think
About
and the way
everything.
you feel. Yeah, it has changed.
It has.
Let's you want to get into some of that? I don't think you've gotten into it. I mean, you spoke it here and there, but
Dude,
we have not got into it.
No. You know, the craziest thing is that it is so hard to like, it's like so complicated to put what your beliefs are, like, and wrap them all into one fucking thing, you know, like one conversation, because it has to do with so many different things. You know what I mean?
But you start from here.
But you know what's funny too is that this past week, the kids had off of school on Monday. It was President's Day, and I was off of work, and we ended up going out to breakfast. Yeah. And at breakfast, I was kind of telling you before breakfast, because we spent the weekend in Flagstaff with your brother.
Yes.
You know, and your brother lets us know what he believes.
Yes.
And a lot of people that we hang around let us know what they believe, right?
Well,
or their beliefs in things.
Yeah,
or
and
how
it's
they
also
see,
because
or how they
am,
see things.
Yeah, like I am the way I am, and people are very open to share how they believe. It's not like back in the day.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Well, I'm just saying, like, it's not like people are trying to recruit you to stuff.
Yeah.
We're just
have
having
these conversations.
Right,
These are the type of conversations we have with our friends.
We just have these conversations.
Yes.
And a lot of times I just listen and I don't say anything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay,
you
that's
observe. You're an
interesting.
observer.
And maybe sometimes it's because I feel like maybe my views are a little different than everybody.
But we would love to hear.
Thanks, babe.
No, seriously.
Thanks, babe.
Like people, you know, the
We
people
would love to
that
hear.
we hang out with are very open-minded to receive, and they will actually think and look and go within and take it in. They wouldn't judge.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but recently, I think it was when we were hanging out with your brother, I was having the thought. I was like, you know what? It's like from now on, if people are just fucking volunteering up, like this is what I believe, I'm just going to start like volunteering up what I believe too, you know, and just be like, this is what I think, and, you know, and then, so then this past weekend we're hanging out with the kids having breakfast, and you brought up at the table.
Well, first let's talk about how you feel about Jesus before we go there.
Dude, I think he was cool.
You know?
I think he was a cool dude. I like him. I give him a thumbs up.
Why do you like him?
I don't know. I can't really say 100%. I don't know him. He was around 3,000 years ago or whatever. You know, it's hard for me to say. But from everything that I hear, he seems like he was a really cool guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a little misunderstood. But he was a really nice guy. He had good intentions. I believe that.
Yes.
But, you know, growing up, I was just kind of, I didn't really think about religion much at all.
Yeah, me neither.
It never really was a serious thing for me.
Yeah.
Like thinking about like, where did we come from? I was like, eventually you figure out people have sex, and then it's like, that's where people come from. Yeah. But then past that, it's like, who gives a shit? You know?
And I wasn't brought up in a religious home.
Yeah. Like we went to church every once in a while. I think my dad tried from time to time. I remember some Jehovah's Witnesses coming over every once in a while. they would have meetings and shit, and I would be off in the side somewhere doing something. But nothing ever serious. I would go visit my mom. My grandmother would take us to church from time to time. Somebody would get baptized every once in a while. You know?
Yeah.
What?
Because you were raised Catholic on your mom's side.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe for church or Easter, right?
Yeah.
Go to church. It's funny when you join the military, and if you're not religious, you become religious.
In the military?
Yep. Because it's the only time that you can get a break from boot camp. Because you get to go to church. And I will fucking praise and do some, like, I will go to church to get out of getting yelled at and doing push-ups and stuff.
So God did help you through the military. Huh?
So in the military, everybody goes to church. Everybody goes. You pick one and you go. And then, but even still, I joined the military, didn't really think about it. And then,
what kind of church were you going to in the military?
I think I went to a Catholic one.
You went to a Catholic church?
Yeah.
Who did you go with?
I
want to hear. I haven't heard about this.
I keep it real.
I have not heard this
babe,
story,
there's
dude.
no stories. There's no stories to tell.
Who
I
would
went
you go
for like
with?
I can't remember, babe. The other
Chris
Catholic.
and all hungover?
No.
Would you guys walk into church all hungover from Saturday night?
He wasn't with me in boot camp.
No?
No. He was with me in training. Oh my
okay,
God.
so
if
you're
he was with me in boot
hungover, right?
camp, oh my God. We would not have made it out of boot camp. Oh my God. That would have been a disaster.
Oh.
Yeah.
So did you ever
What?
go to church hungover?
No, I couldn't. This was boot camp. You can't get drunk in boot camp.
Okay.
They're watching you 24/7. I don't know about now, but they did back then.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was never really a thing until, and I was always kind of skeptical of the whole thing. I always had questions about it, but because it wasn't really a thing to really have to worry about or think about or anything, it was just not an issue, you know? And it wasn't really until we met and then you started going to church. And the thing is that because I hadn't really ever thought about...
That didn't happen till years later. You and I got married in 2008. I didn't start going to church until I think 2013 after I had my spiritual experience.
Right. But I've always been skeptical. I've always kind of had questions about stuff. Religion wasn't something that I questioned just because it just wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But then once when you had your experience and you started going to church and we started going to church, and I was just kind of like, well, I love you. You're my wife. And if you want to go to church, I really don't get it. You know what? This guy Vivek, the guy that was talking about the Jefferson Bible, he was talking about how when he decided to run, because he ran for president and he dropped out of the race because he wasn't going to win. But he said that when he started running for president, that he noticed that there's a lot of things that people ask you questions about, that it forces you to like really sit back and think, like, what do I believe about this topic? Like, what do I actually believe? And you have to like study it more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've always kind of questioned things, but religion was never something that I really had to question. So once you started asking more questions and getting, more involved with the church and, we started going, so I never really questioned it. And I'm like, you're my wife. I love you. You seem to want to go more. I've heard people say like, it can't really hurt, right? Seems like a good thing. And I'm like, something's weird, but let's go. Right. I'm just saying, I've always been a little skeptical, but maybe it's the heathen in me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you hear that, Mom?
So anyway, so we start going to church, but the whole time we're going to church, I'm like, there's just these things that I just cannot, they just don't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. They just don't. And then other questions that you just kind of, I would think about logically, just like billions of people in the world. There's people that just don't get an opportunity to know about Christianity. Mm-hmm. How can that be that they don't get to be saved because they just didn't know about it? Doesn't seem very fair. Or what? Anyway, it would make me just question all kinds of things. And then you start learning about the arguments for one side and the other. And then sometimes you'll hear an argument, it's like, wow, that makes some sense. And you start listening to other things or whatever. And then you start watching fucking nature document. You see what I'm saying? There's no fucking way to explain this shit correctly. You watch nature documentaries and you start watching, like how the universe maybe works.
Yeah.
The way scientists have kind of figured out some things like gravity and I don't know. And evolution and shit like that. Because there's science for this stuff. Yeah, it's hard to explain.
It's a whole lot.
It's a lot to take in. But, so we started, we were sitting at breakfast and we were explaining to the kids, or you told the kids, you're like, so you guys want to know what your dad thinks? Or some shit like that. Oh my God. And I was like, well, have you guys heard of the Big Bang? I was like, I'm not really sure. Like, I really don't. And that's the thing is that I'm open to have my mind changed.
Yeah.
But you got to come with something. Like, you got to really come with something. Something that you could break down in a way that my dumbass could fucking understand. Because sometimes people get too confusing. Like, and one thing that I do know is that we are easy to fucking trick, me included. So you got to break it down to me so that I can understand it without fucking tricking me. You know what I mean? Because I've had conversations with people that at the end of the conversation, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I was like, I know that I was thinking straight for a second there. And they just turned around and walked away.
My back hurts from my,
it
made me laugh.
That's why I thought of that quote. Just because somebody can talk better than you doesn't mean they think better than you. You know?
But the answer is not in the thinking, my baby.
No. But some things are what they are.
It's within.
You know, some things are what they are. But anyway, so we were, so I started explaining to the kids, telling them that, there is evidence for certain things. You can, and where you can find evidence for things, then I think we should maybe listen to some of these things, I don't know. I saw recently where maybe there's like some scientists that were like disproving evolution. I was like, okay, maybe. Well, let's look into it. Because whatever the truth is, that's where we want to head. And I've always said that whenever we stray from that, it seems like we're getting into trouble. And what I was explaining to the kids is that I think that with evolution, you have all these types of animals that have evolved over years.
What? I'm just listening. Don't make me laugh my back. Every time I laugh, I'm like,
And, like animals came out of the ocean eventually, and they had amphibians that were crawling on land and became reptiles and mammals and all this other stuff.
The whales turned into cows.
Yeah. It's funny because it sounds fucking insane.
Yes.
It sounds insane. But tell me your fucking story. Tell me your fucking story of how you think this fucking shit started. And tell me that shit doesn't sound fucking insane. Right? Because I started thinking about that too. I was like, what the fuck can anybody tell me? I believe monkeys ate mushrooms. I bought the website, bitch. monkeys8mushrooms.com. You'll be able to pick up t-shirts there soon. But anyway, dude, what do you believe? Let me know. Because I bet you it's crazy as fuck too. Right? I'm being straight up. I know it sounds crazy. But when you take everything into account and you've had certain experiences and you've seen certain things, like I've seen all these fucking documentaries, separate ones that you can kind of put together that makes it kind of seem this way. I don't know. Like I said, bring me something with more evidence that makes more sense. And I'm down to look at it. But for now, that's what I believe. Let me know your crazy story.
Call us at
480-331-9846. Why'd you make me do that, babe? Fucking putting myself on blast.
Because I felt that our listeners should know.
Yeah. Dude, it's fucking crazy. And, you know, like when you think that way, because I also feel like the earth goes in cycles. Like we have this global warming thing or whatever. Like maybe the earth goes in cycles. Like there's also documentaries that we've seen where like the biblical flood may have been a real thing.
Right, yeah,
that it was part of the earth going through one of its cycles where shit fucking froze in half of the world and then defrosted really, really fast. And there's evidence of that shit in Washington and Montana and shit like that, which is fucking crazy. And yeah, maybe the sun burns out and what happens then? Maybe we get wiped out by another meteor, or like you just don't know. You think that something's going to happen, that some guy's going to come down on some horse and like the clouds are going to part and then people are going to die in fire and all this other stuff. We could just get wiped out by a meteor.
Which is fire.
Which, oh my God.
Ash to ash.
And they'd be like, we were right.
Ash
Oh
to
my
ash.
God. Could you, that would be so funny. Be all the religious people and the scientists. They'd be like, we were right. They were like, no, you weren't. They'd be so mad, both of them. Oh God. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end, we were all right.
Oh God. I was going to say something else. At the end, we all died. Oh God.
We were all
But,
right.
you know, like in the end, nobody knows
Mm-hmm.
anything, because even what happens when the sun burns out? Is that when there's going to be like a black hole? And then what the fuck happened? I don't know science. I don't science that good, but is that when everything gets sucked back into the fucking black hole asshole thing in the space? Like, I don't know. I might be too stupid of fucking astrophysicist over here to understand what the fuck. You know what I mean? I don't know the processes of space. Like what happens? Nobody knows.
So there you have it, folks.
MonkeysAteMushrooms.com. I own it. As soon as I thought of it, the next morning I was like, I'm going to go buy it.
So you said you've been reading The Power of Now.
Yes, I have been.
Yes. So
I finished chapter 3.
Okay. What were the things from chapter 3? What that really stuck out to you?
So there was really? Were you doing one of your sessions here? So when you create a problem, you create pain.
You were my first client.
Some people become upset when they hear problems are illusions. Like if that triggers you. Problems are illusions. And that makes you pissed off. What do you mean problems are illusions? Problems aren't illusions. Maybe that's maybe it's because you're creating that pain. I am threatening to take away a sense of who they are. They have invested much time into a false sense of self. You know? And
why did you write that down? What?
I wrote that down because it reminded me of someone that they have these issues. And that's the thing, is that problems, I wrote it down because it says problems are illusions. And there's someone that we know that's always, anytime we ask them like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? What do you have going on? Oh, I got a doctor's appointment on this day. And I'm making an appointment for this on this other day. And it's always like something, like an issue or a problem that he's got working on, you know? But it's all about how you look at things, you know, because for us, when we have something like that, it's just something that we have to take care of and then moving on to the next thing. That's not like what we're living for. Like when you create these problems to be something so much bigger than they actually are. And they're debilitating. It's like you can't do anything but these things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of why like it becomes part of your identity. Yeah. It's like this is my, like, what was it in the business and legal shield when people would talk about their kids like they have a fucking disease?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't. I got the kids.
Right.
You want to go out tonight? We're gonna go do this. I can't. I got the kids.
Right.
It's like, oh man, we were gonna go. We had this idea. We're gonna start making some money, put some money together. We're gonna do. I can't. I got the kids.
Right.
Fucking, what kind of disease you got? That the kids can't do shit.
Dude, you know what used to get me? This is gonna take us off topic. Don't allow me to take us off topic, okay? It's like, hey, do you want to go and do this? Oh no, I'm babysitting. I'm babysitting the kids.
Who are you babysitting?
And it's their
You're
kids.
babysitting your own fucking kids?
I'm like, shut up. You're babysitting? I wish he would. I'm babysitting
your own kids.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But yeah. So I think sometimes, like, when you identify with whatever that... Oh, let's do another one. Don't mind if I do. But yeah, you can get lost in that identity of whatever that is. You know, and I think that's something that you can get into a cycle of too. That's not a good cycle to get into.
I was in that. I remember when I was that in Legal Shield.
Yeah. But this is even worse though, because that is not like a negative identity. You know what I mean?
When it was time for me to let it go, it was. It became that. Because I couldn't see myself doing anything else but Legal Shield. Like that was a huge, and it was for a lot of people when they heard Legal Shield, it was like, oh, Sonja. It was what people knew of me as.
Yeah.
But I created that identity. Like, this is who I am. And it was not. And so when it was time for me to let it go, it was difficult. Because that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like all these things that we do does not make us who we are. You understand? Like, I am a mom. Yes. I am a wife. Yes. I am a coach. Yes. I'm a daughter. Yes. Like, these are all the different roles that I play. But there's also so much more to me than that.
Yeah. And
that's the spiritual side of that, is really getting, I am all this, but you have to get to know what that and is. And most of us don't take the time to get to know what that and is. Like, who am I? What makes me me? Yeah. What brings me peace? What brings me joy? Like, what makes me me? What is the underlining foundation of who I am?
Yeah. And you can start to find that when you're in the moment, right?
Exactly.
And that's what the third chapter of The Power of Now that we were just kind of talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, that's what that whole chapter is about. And then
it's about being in the present moment.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you wanted to continue on with that.
Do you have anything more about the present moment?
No, I would, because the next chapter is about signs that you're not.
Okay. So being in the present moment is the key to joy.
That's where it starts.
Yeah, that's where it starts. Joy, unconditional love for self, and inner peace. Because when you are in the present moment, and this can be whether, you know, like when you're meditating or when you're in prayer, like being really in that moment with you and your breath. Also being in the present moment when you are with your children and sitting there and even just recognizing who they truly are. Do you remember the first time that your journey of being in the present moment started? Do you remember? I remember. I can share, but I want you to think back of what was that moment that really stood out to you when you saw our kids for the first time. When you shut down the noise and were living in the moment.
Oh, man.
There was one where we were having dinner and you got very emotional.
Here?
Mm-hmm. It was at the beginning. But if you think of another one, that's fine.
No, there's been a few. I mean, I can't remember the first one, but there's been a few. You can't remember
the first one. Do you remember what you felt? The first time you tuned into being in the present, whether it was me or the kids or.
You know, like, it's funny, like explaining everything that I feel and everything that I believe. And then knowing like that I don't believe in magic or anything like it. I just don't.
And no, you guys, Miguel is not a feeler. He was a thinker. He was always in his head. Him transitioning to how he feels and going inward is something that's pretty new for you, right? Like it's been in the first year or two. I wouldn't say that it's new,
but it's like
I'm talking about really tuning in.
Yeah. I also think that feelings can be manipulated sometimes, like
by your thoughts,
by different things. But so knowing that I feel that way and that I think this way about stuff, when you are in that present moment and understanding things the way I do, like you feel it's weird because it's like sacred is like a very, it's a hard word for somebody that doesn't really fucking believe in anything. That's like the closest word that I can, it's like a sacred moment. It's weird. It's kind of like music. How music can be so powerful and make you have feelings. Doesn't even have to be spiritual music, but spiritual music, because of the topic and what it's combined with, is even more powerful sometimes. But the way music has things that just, it makes you feel things that can't be explained.
Okay.
It's weird. But that's how being in the present moment feels.
So how do you explain
to me anyway?
I don't know how to you are completely different. Even within the past 6 months, there has been a shift in you.
You think so?
Oh, I know so. I'm living with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
The way you see me, the way you express yourself, the way you hug me. I mean, you've always given hugs, but it's different. You're more, like in tune with you. Like I call it your spiritual, your higher self. You are way more in tune. You see me now and you see you. I mean, our love has always been, not always been, but first 5 years, I don't even count those. I don't even. But our love has even grown within the past 6 months. Like, do you feel that? Do you see that? I do.
Yeah. You know what? Now that you mention it, there was a thought that I had one time, and I don't remember when it was. Probably close to around that time that you were talking about, where I was sitting at the table or whatever. But it's that moment of where everything is kind of different from that point forward. Like you see things differently. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember when it was, but I remember the thought was just, it sounds so simple, but it's kind of deep, I guess. But it's like, we're all the same. Like all over this world, and how different we may seem. Like we're all the same and we all came from the same thing. And we'll go back to whatever that was.
Right.
And then it's like, when you can understand the world that way, and see how things can be random. You could be born of whichever parents, you don't get to choose. Some of your friends grew up way worse than you did. Maybe you were that kid. You know, that also goes into what I believe. That also helps have empathy for other people, you know. Shit, there's people that I grew up with that went through way worse shit that I couldn't imagine. Mm-hmm. And it's all random. You don't get to pick, you don't get to choose. You're just a kid that goes through the world, through that shit. Doing your best. And everybody thinks that they know how it's supposed to be. And people are good at tricking other people. Like, this is one of the most...
Just focus on you.
But this is one of the most basic places where you can see it. Mm-hmm. Is a baby. If you think of how vulnerable a baby is, here in the United States, and I don't know about other parts of the world, but a lot of people feel like as soon as you have a baby, the first things that you're supposed to do is try to put this baby in a crib and have them cry it out, like, or get them on a fucking schedule so that we can start getting this thing down. Whatever the fuck this thing is. A schedule for what? What are we fucking doing? You have a baby. When it seems like maybe you should just be attending to the baby instead of trying to put them in a separate room. Let them fucking cry it out. Put a camera on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's way more simple than that. Maybe when the baby's sleeping, they should be feeling you at night so that they feel safe. That's what I believe. You don't need a book to tell you that. Just seems like that's how it should be. That's why I feel like when you get older, if you've done things right, your kids would want to take care of you. They would want to honor their parents. If we live in a small tribe, if monkeys ate mushrooms and became conscious over time and figured out that we all come from the same thing and they want to take care of their people, they want their kids to grow up. A lot of people say that the Bible is where you get morality from. That you can't have good people without the Bible. And I've always wondered, like, why? I want a better world because I'm leaving kids behind in this world. Mm-hmm. Because no matter what, I love my children and I would hate for them to grow up and have to suffer. I want them to live in a better place than I lived. That's why. It's not that hard to understand. And it's kind of easy to see how things would be, you know?
That's amazing. You're amazing.
Thanks, babe.
And that's what you get when you get out of your head and into your heart. All of that came from here, your heart. I have my hand on my heart. And that's where I help my clients go. Get out of your head and get into your heart. Because when you get into your heart, for me, it's soul, your spirit. It's the God within us. We are, He is, and we are. And you can hear the difference. If you're listening, you heard Miguel. This is crazy. Okay, so at the beginning of the podcast, you heard the human speaking through Miguel.
Okay.
And then once I got him to tap into his heart, you saw Miguel's spirit speaking through Miguel. And you can see the difference, hear the difference, and see the shift in your being. And I do that. At least this is how I feel. Like, this is how I work. This is how I get my clients to tap into their higher self And that's where all the truth lies. Like that's who we truly are. And a lot of times we're looking outside for answers if we just go within that stillness. So we tap into that side of us and be able to speak from that place, or journal from that place, or write a book from that place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just, those moments depend. Like, yeah, you're right. It started turning a little different once I started getting into it and explaining it, but it depends on the moment, because there's been times where I've had conversations with you and I want to relay the same message to somebody else and it just doesn't come out the same. There's been many times where I'm relaying a message to you, not on this podcast, and I try to relay the same message on this podcast. Doesn't come out the same. Many times because it's like, ooh, that was a good note to take down to talk to, the people on the podcast about. And it's like, not the same.
But when you
we try our best,
when you allow yourself to get into that space, right?
Yeah.
Like the shift, I saw the shift.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of witnesses that can see the shift that took place. And it's amazing when you can witness that in people and you start to see their true self speaking. Yeah. And you live in that now with me. Like I see it, I feel it when you hug me, when we talk. Like it's like a sacred.
Yeah.
It is for me. It's sacred, and even when we make love, it's in that space. And that's why it feels so incredible.
Really?
And I feel that when you are around someone who is, I don't want to say woken, someone who is enlightened or more conscious, it does help the other person to wake up. It helps the other person be more conscious.
Yeah.
And so when my clients are with me, I open up and I try to be this with everyone, right? Like just to be open and to create that space to help others to feel safe so that they can too tap into that consciousness or awareness.
So chapter 4 of Power of Now is like signs of not being in the present moment. And I'm just getting into that chapter. But one of the things that it said, the best indicator for your level of consciousness is how you deal with problems when they arise.
So good.
An unconscious person becomes more deeply unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And a conscious person becomes intentionally conscious when the problems arise. And that just makes sense.
Can you give an example? When you were unconscious? Very recently.
A very easy one is road rage.
What about yesterday when you were hungry, when you were ordering the food?
Oh no, whatever, dude.
But that's unconscious, babe. No, this will help you to bring awareness to the situation, right? So I'm going to share it, okay? You're good with that, right? Are you good with that? I mean, it is us.
Yes, whatever.
Okay.
Sure.
So, and that's what
we went to
talk
In-N-Out and I was talking shit.
No, you weren't just talking shit. You were not happy. And
no, I think you misinterpret sometimes. It wasn't that I was not happy. I was done with the fucking situation.
Yeah, you were
impatient.
Done. This is unconscious. Let's give them examples of, because it's good. It's not that it's a bad thing.
I think unconscious is like if you're letting it sit around and affect you. I was done. At this point, I was like, I'm not wasting any more fucking energy on this shit.
But were you happy?
I wasn't anything. I was waiting for my burgers, what I was waiting for.
Okay. So Miguel placed an order yesterday. Okay. And when you came back to the table, you were upset. I know you were upset because I could feel it and I could hear it when you were speaking.
Okay.
Right? And so I was like, he was like, our order's probably all fucked up. I'm done. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da. And I'm like, she's probably new. Like, right? Like I said, yeah, she's probably new. It was super busy. Right? And you were done. You tapped out. So then I'm like, I'll go handle
whatever.
it. Yeah. So I went up there and she was very nice and she was very apologetic. You know, like.
No, I'm sure. It's fine.
Right. But you were not happy. You were upset. And instead of just being patient with her and
No. I was not about to fucking go around and round. Like, burgers are not that fucking serious. Well, they're gonna make
awareness of being
They're gonna make a turd. It's not that fucking
unconscious.
Babe, at a certain look, when you go to fucking In-N-Out, every time you go, they repeat back your order. If you have 20 fucking people, they're gonna repeat back your order for 20 fucking people. Like, you're supposed to remember every fucking 20 burgers and order of fries and the way that they got them. You know what I mean? It's like, at a certain point.
How were you with her?
Whatever.
How were you with her? Because I wasn't there to witness.
I was fine.
How were you with her?
I was fine. The first 3 times that we went over the order, and then the last one.
Were you being rude to her?
No, I wasn't. I was not being rude because I understand. She's repeating the order back to me. We've gone out over this so many times that my fucking brain doesn't remember what the fuck is what anymore. So at this point, I was done with I was done with her.
Okay. So hold up though.
I was
yes,
just like,
I know, but
I was just like, that sounds great.
Okay. So
I'll pay
you were
for
not being
and it was over.
You weren't upset with her or short with her or nothing. So you just came to the table expressing your
that after a certain point I was just like, fuck it. We're getting what we're getting.
Okay. I felt that. So I was not sure exactly what happened in the front. You know what I'm saying? But being unconscious is saying you're like, if you came off to her impatient, if you were, coming back, kicking the dog kind of deal, that's unconscious. Like you allowed that situation to get you upset.
Yeah.
And for me, it seemed like you were upset. Like your energy was coming off that way.
Yeah. No.
So you weren't that way?
I wasn't. But what I was saying initially is a good indicator would be road rage. Where somebody just cuts you off. And if you're unconscious, you just fucking lose your shit.
Yes. Okay. So
like nothing's happening. You're just kind of like the driving, and all of a sudden somebody cuts you off. You're like, motherfucker, this guy.
Yeah. And then you come home, kick the kid.
And then you're like,
kick the kid, yell at the dog.
Right. It's like, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
So that the best indicator for your level of consciousness is how you deal with problems when they arise. An unconscious person becomes more deeply unconscious, and a conscious person becomes more intensely conscious. So like when shit's happening.
Yeah.
You take a moment and you think about it.
Were you being that in In-N-Out yesterday, damn it?
Babe, it was a different situation. You don't understand.
Okay.
Like, we keep going over the same shit. Look, the girl was explaining the order back to me.
Okay.
I was done fucking listening.
Okay.
So I said, yes, let me pay. Moving on. I don't fucking care.
So if that was the case, then when you came back to the family, us?
At a certain point, I don't like it. It's fine either way. Okay. I will eat whatever, and I hope you guys are fucking happy.
Okay, well, we're fine.
Because I don't want to hear another back and forth anymore.
See?
But that doesn't mean that I have a fucking problem. I'm just done. I'm done spending energy on this.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a psycho for that or something. I don't know.
So...
Is that a problem? Am I fucking crazy? You're the one that knows. Am I having a fucking episode?
I can barely laugh because my back. I did some Muay Thai with a friend and I feel it. Anyways, so you will be tested. Yes, you will be tested. And it's an ongoing
It never
journey.
Ends. It fucking never ends.
It's an ongoing
You will
journey.
be tested at every fast food place you go to.
Yes. Or if you have animals or kids. We do pretty well with not
Hi, sir.
triggering each other.
Your water. I'm just talking
Oh my
shit
God. But yeah, no, you will be tested and you will be tried every day and every month if you're a woman. Oh, every month, like clockwork, right?
Yep.
Until you go through menopause. Then I hear
geez.
like you're just freaking tested.
Hey, you guys will hear all about
More.
that when that happens.
No, it's not going to happen to me.
No?
No, I already
Some
made
women
the
skip it?
decision. I already made the decision that I'm not going to. I told this to my client who already went through it.
You're
and
going to
she's
mentally...
like, she said, good luck with that. That's what she told me. I said, no, I'm not going through that. I'm just going to skip through all that. I'm going to become this super being.
You know what?
And I'm just going to pass that.
You know what I'm going to do? I'll coach you through it. Mental toughness. We will overpower menopause. It's called manopause.
I will end up killing Miguel. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You don't want to fucking put that out there? Oh,
I know,
shit.
right? I'm going to be dude, who was I on the phone with? And I'm like, the women are the first, or their significant other.
They're
remember?
the first. They're the first suspect.
Yes,
They're the first suspect.
Oh my God. Geez. Anyways, I don't know how we went that way.
Yeah.
But no, chapter 4. That's great. So chapter 4, Kelly, we'll be going over that. Yep. We'll be going over that on consciousness versus unconsciousness and being tested. Yep. Signs. Yep. And recognizing within the body too when you become unconscious, because there's lots of signs like when your heart starts palpitating, or you start to get red behind.
When you get short with the cashier.
Yup.
And you don't want to hear any more of them fucking talking. Anyway. And with that, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Like we said before, the best thing that you
would
guys
like some
can do,
help with that,
what's that?
You can always request to have a gifting session with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm doing Zoom now. So I have my first out-of-state client and it is going so well.
And Sonja's doing a retreat. Right?
Yes.
And if you guys want to get a hold of Sonja, you can email her at healinghearts@sonjaramirez.com. You guys can also call her at 602-633-5658 and book a gifting session with Sonja and see what she's all about. And when is the retreat, babe?
May 17th through the 19th.
May 17th through the 19th.
Pine Top, Arizona.
The last event was sold out. Yes. You guys definitely don't want to miss it. There was kayaking, there was sound healing, there's all kinds of different activities for you guys. Yes. And it's in, like you said, Pine Top, Arizona. It's beautiful up there. It's going to be awesome.
Yes.
So definitely hit us up.
Yes. So, any other advertisements before we go?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract Podcast.
Where we get better
together. Bye.